Hey there, I'm Pamela. I'm 29, armed with a marketing degree, and currently job hunting like it's a full-time gig. Because, spoiler alert, it basically is. It's been a rough few months without work, but I've got a big interview lined up at a swanky marketing firm downtown, James & Co. It feels like my shot at finally turning things around. Family's supposed to have your back, right? At least that's what I always believed. My older sister, Nancy, and I have always been close, sharing clothes, borrowing makeup, and dishing about everything under the sun. Her husband, Jack, has always felt more like a brother than an in-law. Last night, we were all gathered around the dinner table at my parents' house, enjoying Mom's lasagna, her masterpiece. I couldn't keep it to myself any longer. Guys, I've got news, I blurted, practically bouncing in my seat. What is it, sweetie? Mom asked, her fork hovering midair. I landed an interview at James & Co. It's this Thursday. The room erupted with congratulations. Mom was already plotting my outfit. Dad looked proud enough to burst, and Nancy, well, her smile didn't quite reach her eyes. That's great, Pam, she said, squeezing my hand. You'll knock them dead. But something in her tone felt off, like a faint crack in her usual enthusiasm. As the night went on, little things started to stick out. Jack was quieter than usual, pushing his food around his plate. When the conversation turned to money, because it always does when you're job hunting, I caught a quick glance exchanged between him and Nancy. Worry? Guilt? Frustration? I couldn't pin it down, but it lingered. Later that night, sprawled out on my bed, I spilled everything to my best friend, Zoe. Zoe, this could be it. The job, the salary, the fresh start. Okay, maybe not the corner office right away, but you get me. She laughed on the other end. Girl, you've got this in the bag. Just breathe, okay. I know, I said, rolling my eyes even though she couldn't see. It's just, Nancy was acting weird. And Jack, he looked like someone stole his lunch money. Maybe they're stressed about their own stuff, Zoe suggested. Don't let it throw you off. This is your moment, Pam. You're right, I said, brushing away the nagging feeling. Enough about that. Help me pick out an outfit. Thursday morning came faster than I expected. I woke up before my alarm, excitement and nerves tangled in my stomach. I went through my prep ritual, hair perfect, outfit on point, resume triple-checked. I grabbed a to-go coffee and headed out, feeling invincible. The drive downtown was a blur of pep talks and deep breaths. When I arrived at the sleek James & Co. building, I felt a rush of confidence. You've got this, I whispered, smoothing my blazer one last time. Inside, I was greeted by a sharply dressed woman in her 40s. Her smile was polite, but her eyes didn't match the warmth of her words. Red flag number 1. Miss Carter, please have a seat, she said, gesturing toward the chair across from her. Thank you, I said, trying to sound calm. We have some concerns to address before we begin, she said, sliding a folder onto the desk. My stomach dropped. Concerns. We received an anonymous email this morning with some troubling information about you. Her voice was crisp, her tone all business. Can you explain your criminal record? I blinked, completely blindsided. I'm sorry, what? Your criminal record, she repeated, her expression hardening. And while we're at it, perhaps you'd like to address the substance abuse allegations outlined here. My breath caught in my throat. There must be some mistake, I stammered, my heart pounding. I don't have a criminal record, and I certainly don't have any substance abuse issues. She didn't look convinced. Miss Carter, we take these claims very seriously. If you're not going to be honest with us. I am being honest. I interrupted, my voice rising in panic. There's been some kind of mistake. Please, can I see this email? The interviewer shook her head, her expression unchanged. I'm afraid that's confidential. Look, Miss Carter, I think it's best if we end this here. And just like that, it was over. I stumbled out of the office in a daze, barely remembering to thank the receptionist on my way out. My legs felt like lead as I made it to the parking lot, where I fumbled for my phone with shaking hands. Zoe, I choked up as soon as she picked up. It was a disaster. A complete and utter disaster. Pam, slow down. What happened? I spilled everything, my words tumbling out in a frantic rush. Zoe stayed quiet, letting me unload the nightmare of an interview. Okay, she said once I ran out of steam. Let's think about this logically. Someone's clearly set you up. But who and why? My mind raced, flipping through possibilities. Who would go out of their way to sabotage me like this? I don't know, Zoe, I whispered, voice cracking. I just don't know. All right, here's the plan, Zoe said, slipping into problem-solving mode. You're coming over to my place. I'll grab some ice cream, you grab some wine, and we'll figure this out. There's got to be a trail. Emails, phone calls, something. Her confidence steadied me. Yeah, okay, thanks, Zoe. I don't know what I'd do without you. Later that night, Zoe and I went into full detective mode. Armed with rocky road and sheer determination, we started digging. And what we found made my stomach churn. First, my email. Someone had hacked into it, reading my messages, sending sketchy ones. The violation felt personal, invasive, like someone rooting through my diary. This is next-level creep stuff, I muttered, scrolling through my sent folder. Then Zoe froze. Oh, Pam. Since when do you have a Facebook page called Pamela's Wild Nights? I nearly choked on my wine. I don't. But there it was, a profile littered with photoshopped pictures of me doing cake stands, smoking, and God knows what else. The final blow? We discovered someone had made anonymous calls to James & Co., spinning scandalous stories that would make a tabloid blush. This is insane, I whispered, my head spinning. Who'd go to all this trouble? The answer hit me like a freight train. No, it couldn't be. But the more I thought about it, the more it clicked. Nancy's weird behavior at dinner. Her hollow congratulations, Jack's unease. The next day, I confronted her. Nancy, I said, forcing my voice to stay steady. Did you have anything to do with sabotaging my interview? Her eyes widened. What? Pam, how could you even think that? Her voice hit that high-pitched note it always did when she was lying. The same one she used in high school when she denied stealing my favorite lip gloss. I wasn't buying it, but I needed proof. Enter Ryan, my tech-savvy cousin. Leave it to me, he said, cracking his knuckles like a hacker in a spy movie. 2 days later, Ryan called me over. You're not going to like this, Pam. He showed me the digital breadcrumbs, emails, fake profiles, and anonymous calls, all leading back to Nancy's devices. But why? I asked, my voice barely a whisper. Ryan shrugged, looking grim. That's something you'll have to ask her. Later that night, I got my answer. Jack's raised voice carried through the phone as I passed their living room window. Words like payments and deadlines caught my ear. It hit me all at once. Jack had a gambling problem. They were drowning in debt. Suddenly, Nancy's actions made a twisted kind of sense. She wasn't just jealous or spiteful. She was desperate. If I got the job, my success would only highlight their struggles. And in her fear, she'd chosen to sabotage me. I felt sick. My own sister, the person I'd shared everything with, had betrayed me to protect her own crumbling life. What are you going to do? Ryan asked when I told him. I took a deep breath, anger and determination mixing in my chest. I'm going to confront her. And this time, she's not going to squirm out of it. As I drove to Nancy's house, my thoughts raced. How could she do this? Could we ever move past it? One thing was certain, nothing would ever be the same again. I was done being a victim. It was time to take control of my life, my future, and my narrative. No one, not even my own sister, was going to stand in my way anymore. When I stormed into Nancy's house, my blood was boiling. She sat there, trying to act calm and innocent, but I wasn't buying it. Cut the crap, Nancy, I snapped, slamming the folder of evidence onto her coffee table. I know what you did. Her face went pale. Liv, I don't know what you're talking about. Save it. I interrupted, pointing to the damning documents Ryan had uncovered. The hacked emails, the fake profiles, the anonymous calls to James & Company, it was all you, explained Des. Nancy's eyes darted around, desperate for an escape. That's when Jack walked into the room, his brow furrowed in confusion. What's going on? He asked, looking between us. I turned to him, my voice trembling with fury. Your wife sabotaged my job interview. She's been actively trying to ruin my life. Jack's jaw dropped, and he looked at Nancy, who was now on the verge of tears. Is this true? And just like that, the dam broke. Nancy started sobbing, her words tumbling out in broken gasps. I'm sorry. We're in so much trouble, Jack. The debts, the gambling. I couldn't stand the thought of Liv being successful while we're falling apart. Jack's face hardened, his shock giving way to anger. So you tried to drag her down with us? Nancy, what the hell? I stood there, shaking with a mix of rage and heartbreak. Seeing her breakdown was like watching a slow-motion car crash. Horrifying, but impossible to look away from. I trusted you, I said, my voice barely above a whisper. You're my sister. How could you do this to me? Nancy reached out to me, tears streaming down her face. Liv, please, I wasn't thinking straight. We can fix this, right? I stepped back, shaking my head. No, Nancy, we can't. I turned to Jack, my tone softer but firm. You both need help. I'll help you find a support group for the gambling, Jack. But after that, I'm out. I'm done. The next few days passed in a blur of emotions. I reached out to James and Company, explaining the situation with as much honesty and professionalism as I could. To my surprise, they were understanding. We were impressed by how you've handled this, the HR manager said. We'd like to offer you another interview. 6 months later, my life looks completely different. I'm thriving at James and Company, working on exciting campaigns that make me love what I do. My mornings are filled with purpose, and my evenings are often spent laughing over wine with Zoe or learning coding basics from Ryan. As for Nancy and Jack, they're in counseling. Last I heard, they're trying to rebuild, but the family has kept their distance. It hurts, but I hope they figure things out, for their sake, not mine. Sometimes I miss the sister I thought I had. The one who braided my hair before school dances, who held me when I cried over my first heartbreak. But then I remember what she did, and I know I made the right choice. This ordeal has taught me the importance of surrounding myself with people who lift me up, not drag me down. And sometimes, those people aren't the ones you expect. So here's to new beginnings, to standing up for yourself, and to realizing that you don't need to dim your light for anyone, not even family. Would I ever forgive Nancy? I don't know. Maybe someday, if she proves she's changed. But forgiving doesn't mean forgetting, and it doesn't mean letting her back into my life. Some betrayals cut too deep. What about you? If you were in my shoes, could you forgive your sister? Or is sabotaging your future an unforgivable betrayal?